Hey guys, it's me, Miss Norris, and today I'd like to share a fun read aloud with you of the story Mufaro's Beautiful Daughters. The story Mufaro's Beautiful Daughters was originally written in 1895, but this story is retold and illustrated by John Steptoe and was made in 1987. If you're ready to hear the story, I'm ready to share it with you. Here we go. Mufaro's Beautiful Daughters, and this is a story from Africa. We'll find out which of Mufaro's beautiful daughters this is. Let's look at that title page. You can see the beautiful scenery. There's animals and hills, mountains. I wonder what's going to happen in this story. There's a bird flying overhead. All right. A long time ago, in a certain place in Africa, a small village lay across a river and a half-day's journey from a city where a great king lived, a man named Mufaro. Mufaro lived in this village with his two daughters, who were called Manyara and Nyasha. Everyone agreed that Manyara and Nyasha were very beautiful. So we've just learned something, that Mufaro is the king and that his daughters, Manyara and Nyasha, are very beautiful. And it looks like they make pottery. Manyara was almost always in a bad temper. She teased her sister whenever their father's back was turned, and she had been heard to say, "Someday, Nyasha, I will be a queen, and you will be a servant in my household." "If that should come to pass," Nyasha responded, "I will be pleased to serve you. But why do you say such things? You are clever and strong and beautiful. Why are you so unhappy?" "Because everyone talks about how kind you are, and they praise everything you do," Manyara replied. "I'm certain that father loves you best, but when I am queen, everyone will know that your silly kindness is only weakness." Wow. So Manyara and Nyasha are sisters, but Manyara is not very nice to Nyasha. And Nyasha doesn't seem to mind. She doesn't want to fight back. She just says, "I'll gladly serve you, sister." And the only thing she wants to know is, why are you so unhappy? And it sounds like she thinks the dad, Mufaro, loves Nyasha best of all. Nyasha was sad that Manyara felt this way, but she ignored her sister's words and went about her chores. Nyasha kept a small plot of land on which she grew millet, sunflowers, yams, and vegetables. She always sang as she worked, and some said it was her singing that made her crops more bountiful than anyone else's. So Nyasha is a gardener, and she sings to all of her plants, and people say that that's why Nyasha's plants are the best of all, and even the birds are coming to say hello. One day, Nyasha noticed a small garden snake resting beneath a yam vine. "Good day, little Nyoka," she called to him. "You are welcome here. You'll keep away any creatures who might spoil my vegetables." She bent forward, gave the little snake a loving pat on the head, and then returned to her work. From that day on, Nyoka was always at Nyasha's side when she tended her garden. It was said that she sang all the more sweetly when he was there. So you can see she's found a little snake, Nyasha, and she's treated it very sweetly. And the little snake, Nyoka, comes and listens to her sing, and people think that her singing is even better when the little snake is there. Pardon me. Mufaro knew nothing of how Manyara treated Nyasha. Nyasha was too considerate of her father's feelings to complain. and Manyara was always careful to behave herself when Mufaro was around. Early one morning, a messenger from the city arrived. The great king wanted a wife. The most worthy and beautiful daughters in the land are invited to appear before the king, and he will choose one to become queen, the messenger proclaimed. Mufaro called Manyara and Nyasha to him. It would be a great honor to have one of you chosen, he said. Prepare yourselves to journey to the city. I will call together all our friends to make a wedding party. We will leave tomorrow as the sun rises. But, my father, Manyara said sweetly, it would be painful for either of us to leave you, even to be the wife of the king. I know Nyasha would grieve to death if she were parted from you. I am strong. Send me to the city and let poor Nyasha be happy here with you. Mufaro beamed with pride. The king has asked for the most worthy and most beautiful. No, Manyara, I cannot send you alone. Only a king can choose between two such worthy daughters. Both of you must go. So the king is looking for a queen and asks to see all the most beautiful people in the land. And Mufaro says, well, that's me. That's my daughters. And Manyara tries to say, oh, it would make us so sad to see you by yourself. I'm strong. Let Nyasha stay home with you, and she'll be happy that way. And Mufaro says, no dice. You're both going. You're both so beautiful. Only a king can decide. That night, when everyone was asleep, Manyara stole quietly out of the village. She had never been in the forest at night before, and she was frightened. But her greed to be the first to appear before the king drove her on. In her hurry, she almost stumbled over a small boy who suddenly appeared, standing in the path. Please, said the boy, I am hungry. Will you give me something to eat? I have brought only enough for myself, Manyara replied. But please, said the boy, I'm so very hungry. Out of my way, boy. Tomorrow I will become your queen. How dare you stand in my path? So she's snuck out of the house. She's leaving before sunrise. Remember, Mufaro says we're going to leave at sunrise. And she says, I'm going to go first so that I can be the first one the king sees. But a little boy appears before and asks her for food. And she says, get out of my way, little boy. I'm your queen. I had to wet my whistle. After traveling for what seemed to be a great distance, Manyara came to a small clearing. There, silhouetted against the moonlight, was an old woman seated on a large stone. The old woman spoke. I will give you some advice, Manyara. Soon after you pass the place where two paths cross, you will see a grove of trees. They will laugh at you. You must not laugh in return. Later, you will meet a man with a head under his arm. You must be polite to him. How do you know my name? How dare you advise your future queen? Stand aside, you ugly old woman, Manyara scolded, and then rushed on her way without even looking back. So I'm going to give you a little, there's an old woman in the forest, and she gives Manyara some advice. And Manyara says, get out of my way, old lady, and doesn't even look back. Just as the old woman had foretold, Manyara came to a grove of trees, and they did indeed seem to be laughing at her. I must be calm, Manyara thought. I will not be frightened. She looked up at the trees and laughed out loud. Dun, dun, dun. That's what she said not to do. I laugh at you, trees, she shouted, and she hurried on. It was not yet dawn when Manyara heard the sound of rushing water. The river must be up ahead, she thought. The great city is just on the other side. But there, on the rise, she saw a man with a head tucked under his arm. Manyara ran past him without speaking. A queen acknowledges only those who please her, she said to herself. I will be queen! I will be queen! She chanted as she hurried on toward the city. Now, she saw this man with a head under her arm, and the old woman said, You must be polite to him. She ran past him. Is that being very polite? She didn't even say hello or excuse me. Nyasha woke at the first light of dawn. As she put on her finest garments, she thought how her life might be changed forever beyond this day. I much prefer to live here, she admitted to herself. I'd hate to leave this village and never see my father or sing to little Nyoka again. Her thoughts were interrupted by shouts and a commotion from the wedding party assembled outside. Manyara was missing. Dun, dun, dun! Everyone bustled about, searching and calling for her. When they found her footprints on the path that led to the city, they decided to go on as planned. As the wedding party moved through the forest, brightly plumed birds darted about the cool green shadows beneath the trees. Though anxious about her sister, Nyasha was soon filled with excitement about all there was to see. They were deep in the forest when she saw a small boy standing by the side of the path. You must be hungry, she said, and handed him a yam she had brought for her lunch. The boy smiled and disappeared as quietly as he had come. Later, as they were approaching the place where the two paths crossed, the old woman appeared and silently pointed the way to the city. Nyasha thanked her and gave her a small pouch filled with sunflower seeds. The sun was high in the sky when the party came to a grove of towering trees. Their uppermost branches seemed to bow down to Nyasha as she passed beneath them. At last, someone announced that they were near their destination. So, at first they were worried that Manyara was missing, but they saw her footprints and decided to go on. And even though Nyasha was nervous, she soon realized that there was a lot to see in the forest, and she got excited. And then she ran into the boy, the same boy that her sister ran into. And he didn't even have to ask her for food. She said, You must be hungry. And then they ran into the same old woman. And the old woman simply pointed the way, and Nyasha gave her a little bag of sunflower seeds. And now they were getting very close, and someone announced that they were almost there. Nyasha ran ahead and topped the rise before the others could catch up with her. She stood transfixed at her first sight of the city. Oh, my father, she called. A great spirit must stand guard here. Just look at what lies before us. I never in all my life dreamed that there could be anything so beautiful. So Nyasha has run up the side of the mountain, and as she's looking out at the city, she says, This is the most beautiful thing I have ever seen, and come see quickly. Arm in arm, Nyasha and her father descended the hill, crossed the river, and approached the city gate. Just as they entered through the great doors, the air was rent by piercing cries, and Manyara ran wildly out of a chamber at the center of the enclosure. When she saw Nyasha, She fell upon her, sobbing. "Oh, don't go to the king, my sister. Oh, please, father, do not let her go," she cried hysterically. "There's a great monster there, a snake with 5 heads. He said that he knew all of my faults, and that I displeased him. He would have swallowed me alive if I had not run. Oh, my sister, please don't go inside that place." Well, it frightened Nyasha to see her sister so upset. But, leaving her father to comfort Manyara, she bravely made her way to the chamber and opened the door. So as soon as they get there, Manyara's running out and she's yelling and saying it's a hideous monster, a snake with 5 heads, and that he knows all the bad things about her and don't go in there. And Nyasha says, "I have to be brave and leave you here, and my father will comfort you. Our father will comfort you, and I'm going to go see what this is all about." On the seat of the great chief's stool lay the little garden snake. Nyasha laughed with relief and joy. "My little friend," she exclaimed, "it's such a pleasure to see you. But why are you here?" "I am the king," Nyoka replied. And there, before Nyasha's eyes, the garden snake changed shape. What? So Nyasha goes into the palace and to see what her sister was so afraid of. And it's her little friend, Nyoka. And she says, "Well, what are you doing here?" He says, "I'm the king." And then starts transforming. What? "I am the king. I am also the hungry boy with whom you shared a yam in the forest, and the old woman to whom you made a gift of sunflower seeds. But you know me best as Nyoka, because I have been all of these. I know you to be the most worthy and most beautiful daughter in the land. It would make me very happy if you would be my wife." So, the king has been disguising himself in magical ways and is testing people to see how good and worthy they are. And by the time Nyasha meets him as the king, he already knows that she's great because he's met her in several different ways. The boy, the old woman, and most importantly, Nyoka the snake. And now he wants to get married. And so it was that, a long time ago, Nyasha agreed to be married. The king's mother and sisters took Nyasha to their house, and the wedding preparations began. The best weavers in the land laid out their finest cloth for her wedding garments. Villagers from all around were invited to the celebration, and a great feast was held. Nyasha prepared the bread for the wedding feast from millet that they had brought from her village. Mufaro proclaimed to all who would hear him that he was the happiest father in the land, for he was blessed with 2 beautiful and worthy daughters, Nyasha, the queen, and Manyara, a servant in the queen's household. So everyone is helping Nyasha to get ready to be married. And Mufaro tells everyone that he meets that he has the 2 most worthy daughters. One that is the queen, Nyasha, and 2 that is Manyara. And Manyara is a servant in the king's household. This looks like maybe the wedding day. There's music being played. Everyone has gathered from all around for the wedding and the feast. Here is Nyar. I'm sorry. My brain has gone crazy. Here is Nyasha and Nyoka, the king and queen. The end. Ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoyed the story of Mufaro's beautiful daughters, please hit that thumbs up button at the bottom of the page. If you're already a subscriber, thank you so much for your support. It really means a lot to me. If you're not a subscriber yet, please click that subscribe button and don't forget to click the bell so that you're notified when there's new content. I hope to see you all again real soon. Bye-bye.